Ms. George.
Here.
And Chair Morley.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Sergeant O'Neill is currently on the West Coast with Hurricane Ian operation, so he sent a report in. But we're going to go ahead and Andrew's going to read it real quick for us so we can kind of go
Need
through
approval
it.
in a minute, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. I apologize.
I got one approval, or one on your pages, it's page 5.
Page 5. What do you got?
There's a word that you can't really make out and stuff over there. 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph down, the word, is that STEM or STERN or STEM?
Stern.
It does say stern?
Stern.
ST?
Should say
To
stern.
me, it looks like
It
STEM.
says stern.
STEM.
Yeah, it says stern on the.
Yep, I have stern on mine.
Okay.
It's closest.
All right,
Okay.
that's
So,
fine,
you
then I
okay
don't
with
have
that?
a correction.
So motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
Make a motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Now we can talk about waterway crime and building safety.
Sure, I distributed this report to you. Sergeant O'Neill's on the West Coast helping with recovery efforts. I'll run through it real quick.
Thank you.
65 calls for service in October. Of those calls, 2 were burglaries. A couple of addresses. On 21st Avenue, an 80-foot azimuth was broken into, lost a GPS worth $8,000. On Northeast 14th Street of Boston Whaler, a Garmin GPS worth $3,000. It indicates here 5 marine accidents were reported with either minor or no injuries, and 66 citations were written. And before I get to there's some notes on the anchored vessel north of, I guess it's Las Olas
East
Marina.
Las Olas.
East Las Olas. There's nothing in here about the boat show. So next month we'll ask about the boat show. I don't have that information. As far as the anchoring north of East Las Olas, I made Sergeant O'Neill aware of some concerns, and he says that Marine officers check on these vessels daily. If they have any violations, they are sent a ticket in the mail. If a vessel is at risk of becoming derelict, the owner is sent a ticket. And this is the Florida State Statute 327-4107, and a derelict vessel investigation begins. There are currently 2 known liveaboards in that area. One is the bridge tender for the Sunrise Bridge. There have been backflow valve inspections, he lists the statute, with no issues found. We will be deploying dye tabs in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Moving on from there, as there can be no questions, since Sergeant O'Neill's not here. Item 5 on our agenda is a dock waiver request for 1215 Seminole Drive, James and Darlene Barron.
Frank Mamoto's here.
And Frank, if you don't mind coming up here and stating your name for the record, and then go ahead and
Sure, thank you.
use our podium, and then go ahead and start off with your presentation.
Hi, my name is Frank Armando. I represent the James and Darlene Barron, 1215 Seminole Drive. I'm the permit expediter for contractor doing the work on the project. I was before the committee last month. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. I know you guys get a lot of different stuff. Basically, what we were proposing in our summary is the site is located at 1215 Seminole Drive, located in Seminole Lake. It's located in Sunrise Bay, Fort Lauderdale, approximately 8 miles southwest of Port Everglades Inlet. As the project is going north, the inlet tide moves from south to north, the outgoing water. The project consists of an existing 95-foot seawall, cap, 40 by 5 wood deck, with a 27-foot-9 wood pier. Go to the next slide, sir. That's the existing condition now, and that's the existing condition now. What we would like to do in this is we are proposing the project consists of the installation of a concrete dock, 95 by 6'8", and 2 concrete piers, 39 feet from the wet face of the seawall and 62 feet, 10 inches separating the two piers along the lateral of the property line. Our concerns that the committee had had in the last meeting were that these piers and there was a boat lift did not meet the setbacks because of one of the property lines is a little askew, doesn't run a very parallel such. After reviewing with the owner, they agreed to remove the boat dock, the boat lift, and bring the piers further in, closer to the center of the properties, as so that it would not fall in contrast to the setbacks set forth by you folks. You can see that on S4. Could you go to the next, sir? Basically, this is the standing on the dock facing south. This is the south neighbor. Go to the next. Same thing. He has a dolphin pile, but has nothing to do with anything on our project. Next one, please. That's standing out in front to demonstrate that there is over, it's also in the package, I believe it's almost 200 and something feet from sea face to sea face. The proposed project has received approval from the Army Corps of Engineers, Florida Department of Environmental Resource, and we are just waiting with you folks here, as it was requested by the zoning people for your approval. The five matters of justification is the structures and piles will not exceed 30% of the waterway because of the width. Due to the extraordinary width of the waterway at this location, from wet face to wet face of approximately 300 feet, the proposed canal will not impede any navigation on the Seminole Lake. Proposed structures are necessary for safety mooring of the residence vessel, especially during high winds and severe weather. The proposed structure also needs to protect the vessel from high wake energies exceeded in Seminole Lake there, because that's a go fast in that area. The proposed project is a rehabilitation of existing dock and slips. Thus, everything will now bring the property up to the new codes with the height of the seawall and containing the piers with it. So basically our request is to get a 14-foot extension of the 25-foot setback that is currently the standard from the wet face for both piers. I've enclosed everything showing that we've made the relocations of the objections that the committee had at our last meeting. And hopefully now, upon review, you'll see that we fall within the criteria of everything that was asked. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Frank. Any questions from the board for the applicant? Norbert?
I noticed that which is probably a good thing, I noticed your wooden dock, actually, that was one of the things we had. The property line actually runs on an angle.
Yeah.
Now, I'm looking at your no proposed concrete dock. That kind of follows the angle of the property line. Is that correct?
Well, if you notice on the S4 page, sir, we're gonna keep it parallel, but it'll come in far enough so that it'll hold the 12-foot from the angle.
That's the
Yeah.
old, that's the old
New
one.
one. That's the
This
old
is
one.
the new one. This is the new one.
Yeah.
Oh, the new one, okay. We're looking at the wrong, right here.
I might have not have changed that one out, sir, and if that's the case, but the correction was made on the S4 page.
Yeah, we got it.
See, what I was looking at is your property line that runs over there. If you follow that property line out against, what's the distance from your property line running on that angle to the basically the end of the dock?
It'll hold the 10 feet.
That will be 10, that's 10 feet?
Yeah.
Okay, because I said the original one was like 22 from the property line on a straight line. So that's 10 feet. So if you follow that line out, actually, if you were gonna put a mooring pile or something out over there, that wouldn't work, right?
Well, we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna leave it the way it is so that, it falls within the setback, requirement. There'll be no more piling. Originally, there was a lift plan for that side of the.
Yeah, there was.
Right.
I said, and it was, but the thing that I was saying is, that if you continue to follow that line out, when the boat and everything else is out there, what size boat are you putting in there?
The boat probably will be about a 40-foot boat if you go back. You'll
Yeah,
see it.
I seen the boat. I
Yeah,
know, that's what it is.
but that fits perfectly in between. That's where it's gonna live.
That's fine. But now, let me ask you one other question. The neighbor that's on the other side and stuff over there, you don't have any objections? I mean, we don't have any
No,
letters of
I
objection
noticed
to
the
that?
neighbors on both sides. I noticed everybody within 300 feet. I did hear from somebody across the lake, but
Thank
it was just a question, so there was no.
Across the lake is a different story, as long as they're there. Yeah.
No letters of opposition
No,
or
that was the
support.
main thing I
Yes.
think we had last
The
thing was
last
the
time,
boat
yes,
lift.
Yes, Mr.
But
McLaughlin.
you, on the other side of that, I don't, you could still get a lift in the middle there somewhere and stuff, but just it can't be on that side. I mean, if they decided ever to put a lift,
At that point, if he ever decided to do a lift, there was some discussion. It would be, he would put it in the center here, in between the horseshoe pole.
Makes perfect sense.
Which would give him, 30 feet. He could still get a pretty good sized lift in there, up to a 16K lift, without impeding any, setbacks that were, extension of the setbacks.
thing I was saying is over in Idlewild, for instance, and stuff over, Idlewild has similar problems where the angles and stuff over there, the
Yes.
properties and stuff are.
The zoning people always kind of pick up that pick that up on us, that it has to follow that line. If they're not
I'm
all,
wondering why you didn't follow the line for your concrete dock. I mean,
well-
your pier, not the dock, the pier.
well, because it's far enough in that if the line did go straight all the way across, you would still need the setback.
No, I was just curious and stuff over there, because I would think that you would actually, for way that property and stuff is, that you would take that and follow the property line on that other side and stuff over there, and, I mean, aesthetic wise or something over there?
You
Not
know,
that that's- because you've got enough in there, but I'm saying aesthetic wise,
Mr. McLaughlin, I'm not gonna tell you that, what's on the paper, and as long as we fall within the setbacks, yeah, that's gonna be something that'll be addressed, when we do the forms. Usually that's when that gets caught, and we'll shoot it and make sure that it's in the same setback area.
Anything else? So I have a question. So with that, the applicant has no plans on putting a small vessel outboard of those two finger piers?
Not at this time, not at this time.
Any other questions from the board to the applicant? Any questions from the public to the applicant? Okay, back to the board then.
the motion to approve.
Norbert McLaughlin, motion to
Second.
approve. Noel, second.
Elizabeth second.
Elizabeth, second,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay. All right, we have a motion. All those in favor of approval? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you for addressing the concerns we had last month and bringing it back in.
We're all here to work together and to keep it, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come back again and making the correction.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
It
much.
makes the system work.
That's it.
Thank you. Folks, have a nice evening.
You as
too.
well, thank you.
Just let me check this pointer out. Is that a power?
It's a PDF and some videos.
Okay, moving on to item 6, another dock waiver request for 801 Southwest 6th Street. The applicant's name is Christina Kerwin. I believe. State your name and affiliation for the record.
Hi, my name is Andrew Shine with Lockery and Chakas here representing the property owner. This application might look familiar to you. If the board doesn't mind, I would like to present both applications in the same presentation, substantially the same facts, even though they'd be voted on.
So you wanna do 801 and 777 as one presentation?
Yes.
And then we'll split them up for the vote.
That if acceptable.
I have no objections. Anyone on the board have any objections to that?
No.
Okay, go ahead and present. Thank you.
So a little bit of the history of this property and this application. This type of application originally came to this board in 2018. It was for mooring piles 65 feet from the property line. It was approved by this board. There were some concerns, but it was approved fairly overwhelmingly by this board. It then went on to the commission, and when it was approved by this board did find that there were extraordinary circumstances, which is the criteria for these applications. It then went on to commission where it didn't get approved. It was deadlocked in a 2-2 vote. The mayor wasn't there. So the motion to approve failed. In July of this year, the owner came back for an application for 62 feet from the property line, which was trimmed down from the original approval of 65 feet, but it was not recommended for approval by this board. Frankly, I was brought on after this application, and my own analysis of it, and part of the board's analysis, was that there just wasn't enough evidence and you guys needed to see more information, at least onto how this part of the river operates. Today, we're here with another trimmed down application at 62 feet from the property, 60 feet from the property line. So 2 feet less than last time and 5 feet less than the first time it was approved. This is the property is just to the south of those red dots. Those red dots are about where the mooring piles are gonna be. If you could see, this property it's actually very unique because just to the west of it, they have that point lot that juts out, also about 60 feet. It's like 55, 56 feet it juts out. And that affects how boats move around this point leading up to the bridge. I took this distance map from an application that was also approved in 2018 by this board and the commission. It was for Mr. Strobel's property right across the riverway, where in that application, he showed the distance separation and how wide the river would be. And he showed that even after his posts are in, it would be 180-foot waterway, clear navigable waterway width, which is the largest point, even post pilings, largest width at a point on that river. With ours, we're only asking to go 25 feet more than we already are. We have existing pilings at 35 feet. We're asking to go to 60. So even post pilings, it would still be the widest part of the river at 155 feet. I did see an email from Cape Ann Towing for this application, stating that they are objecting to what we're requesting. And in that email, I don't know if it was circulated to the board, but in that email, there wasn't really much talk about whether the pilings themselves would be an obstruction. And this graphic is showing what towing maneuver would need to happen for the piles to be an obstruction. And frankly, it doesn't make sense. And we have videos of many boats being towed down this river, which I'll show in a minute. This is not how boats get towed down this part of the river. It doesn't go anywhere near where the proposed pilings are gonna go, significantly further north than that. To add on to this, just because we're asking for the pilings to be at 60 feet. Right now, we have a 55-foot boat out there. So, and it's legally out there. So this maneuver can't happen with or without the pilings because we're allowed to have a boat in that area and they can't go through the boat. So I take issue with their speculation that if we have 60-foot pilings, we can put a 120-foot boat on there. That was the email. That's wrong for two reasons. One, it's complete speculation. We have no intention of doing that. Two, it's just blatantly illegal and against the code. You can't have a boat 120 feet into this waterway width. We heard earlier that there were 66 code violations over the...
You've got a picture of them right there doing the same thing. So it's blatantly obvious that that's being done.
Fair. But as you heard, there were 66 code violations for boating issues since the last Marine Advisory Board meeting. And I don't think we can judge an application based on speculation of something that's just completely illegal. and wouldn't be allowed even if this application is approved. And third is that we're not here for that tonight. We're not here to get a waiver of boats, of how far a boat can go into the waterway. And we're here for a waiver of the mooring piles. So I do understand Cape Ann's towing's concern. And frankly, it's the same concern that we had when we reached out to the Jungle Queen. Last board meeting, not the last one that this application was done, but last month's board meeting, we heard concerns from this board that you want us to reach out to commercial operators of this river. So we did reach out to Jungle Queen, who is probably the widest boat that navigates this river, or one of. And I do have an email from them stating that they have no objection to the pilings and that it wouldn't affect their navigability. What they did say in the email, and I can pass it around, is that if a boat does go further than that, that possibly could affect their navigability. And I don't disagree. We would be fine. We have, again, no intention of putting a boat larger than the mooring piles here. So we'd be fine with the stipulation of that it can't go past the furthest mooring pile, anything like that. But again, we're here tonight for the mooring piles, which Cape Ann Towing did not say they have a problem with the mooring piles. Jungle Queen explicitly said they don't have a problem with the mooring piles. And third, we did reach out to Steel Towing. I don't want to do anything that would jeopardize Jim Steele's business, so I'll put it this way. He was very aware of the application and what we're requesting, and he did not write a letter of objection. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but because he has a business to defend, but he had no objection to this request. This is where I need to go over here. Andrew, would you be able to just click the escape? Thank you. As to the towing, this is going west down the river. You can see the point lot right here. This towboat is significantly further north than significantly further north. It's closer to the north side than it is to the south side. Again, this is the point lot, so it would be pretty much lined up with the point lot coming across very far away. We'll look at one from, let's see what this one is. This is another video of it being towed again. You can see the point lot here. That point lot creates a really natural alcove here, which is great for storing boats to a certain extent. And someone mentioned this at the last board meeting, that it's a blessing and a curse that they're on the widest part of the river. It's a blessing because they do have this little alcove that is not used for navigability. And they can dock a boat there that is not interfering with boat traffic on the river. The negative is that boats tend to come around this area fast because it is the widest part of the river and slow down once they hit the narrower part leading to the bridge. That creates a lot of wake. We have pictures of damage that I'll show, a significant amount of wake. Lots of damage. The owner has spent thousands and thousands over the last 10 years repairing their boats because of this wake. So yes, it's a blessing and a curse, but it really does create an extraordinary circumstance here. It's the widest part of the river. This is a video of towing going east again. You can see it's closer to the north than it is to the south. The bow of this boat is about 35 feet from the property line right now. So here you have, I don't know the exact measurement, but it's 60, 70 feet between their travel lane and where we are. The last video is showing what happens every single day at this property, and this is in good weather. This is in beautiful weather, no storm, clear skies, no wind. There's constant boat rocking because of these wakes, and they're not even going that fast. People speed down here. But this is the backyard every single day, boats rocking, fiberglass getting chipped, boats getting damaged. We're not here tonight because we want to have mooring piles, just because we want to have mooring piles out 60 feet. We're here tonight because there's an actual problem in this area and how it's used and what it does to the boats on the south side of the river. Back up the presentation. This is damage of the boat, and this is this happened multiple times over the last couple of years to multiple boats there. It's an actual issue here. So I would urge, I don't think I have another slide. I would urge this board to really look at the extraordinary circumstances here. I know there are concerns about granting these waivers in the future and how much leeway and how often they should be granted, and I heard that at the last meeting. But these really do need to be taken on a case-by-case basis. And when I first took on this case, I had a my own third set of eyes on it, having not looked at this application before. And I couldn't figure out what the issue would be. It's not affecting navigability or actual damages. And on top of that, this board already found that there were extraordinary circumstances with this property when we were asking for 65-foot mooring piles. That was in 2018, and nothing has changed on this stretch of the river since 2018. I believe a board member at the July hearing for this said that they haven't seen a substantive change in boats going up and down the river. So nothing has changed in between when this board said there were extraordinary circumstances and now. And it's an actual issue for the owner. So here for any questions.
Can you go back to the slide with the mooring piles and the dotted line going through them? If you don't mind, you just hold that one.
Yeah.
So that gives a very good view of all the possible questions that are going to be coming up. Thank you. Anything else?
That is all.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Questions from the board first. Norbert?
What was brought to the attention, that boat that's down there sticks out, that's somewhere right around where the castle was, the property and stuff over there,
No, the castle's
a little further down.
it's about 5, 6, 7 parcels to the east.
Okay, those boats and stuff over there are all out where it is. One of the things that I found out, what you're saying doesn't happen, what Mr. Morley had said over there. I don't care how much that the people swear they're not gonna put a small boat and stuff in there. They put it even on the code where they actually will only have a 65-foot boat there. The one of them that I went over and looked at, because I went to 3 of them places where they were, just to give you an idea. One had a Westport in there, the smallest Westport is 112 feet. All right? So, I mean, granted, I'm not calling homeowners liars or this one and everything else, but as time goes on, they decide to get a bigger boat. They sell the house, and the new owner that comes in there does not have a 65-foot boat. He's got an 85-foot boat. They keep them in there. And as far as down there, the reason I use the castle is because he's got 70-foot boats in there that a 50-foot boat should not be at that dock. All right, so I mean, it's not a violation because there's nothing in there. And one of the problems that we have that I see, you have that line over there on the mooring piles. One of the things that I've always been objected to is when you get a variance, once you get a variance, I don't care if it's 5 feet, it does not restrict the boat. At that point, the 30% rule is the only thing that takes effect. Because if the dock was out 25 and you got a variance to go out 30 feet, you put it out 30 feet, and all of a sudden the boat can go out 85, 90 feet. And the problem I have is not with the pile, but how far out those boats can be. And as far as, I know I talked to Jimmy Steele to give you an idea today. And it wasn't the fact that he did not send an objection and stuff to it. He does not think of the project, and I'm not throwing him under the bus either, because he personally called me to that. But what I'm saying is, you're looking at this point here, and you're saying, okay, the boats and stuff come in here. What we're saying is, and I've taken barges and stuff through here, I lay right in this area here, because as you go into the narrows in here, if you have 2 boats side by side, especially if the Jungle Queen's coming down and you got a towboat in here, and I'm another one because I got held up at the railroad bridge. So now I've got a towboat here and a towboat here, and we're waiting for the Jungle Queen and stuff, because right here is Little Florida, and here's where the turn is to the North and South Fork, if I'm not mistaken. South Fork, North Fork goes right in here. There is no place to lay down from here all the way to Lauderdale Marine Center. So the barges and everything, they have to use this wide area that you're in here. The piling where they are is the problem. You got a boat like this over here, it's out over here, it changes this altogether. And the objection that I've always had is this part of the river that we used to use, because this is what I used to tow. I laid right here, put my spuds down and everything outside the Tarpon River that's right in here, right along this side. In the area you said it's nice and calm because they didn't have the currents and didn't have anything else. And those boats that are coming outbound, sure, they run on this side here. The ones going inboard would like to go that way too, but they have to hold right there. That's the objection that I have. And as far as the new river is concerned, I said I have to give leeway to the commercial industry as opposed to the private industry. And as far as I'm concerned, the different people that work, the marine industry and everything else, they want you to stay within what the founders and stuff said. They want you to keep at the where the variance is now. No more variances. They want it where it's supposed where it is. So that's the objection that I would have, is for commercial vessels that I don't care if it's 5 or 10 feet, should be put out into the new river, strictly commercial traffic. That's only my opinion.
Do you mind if I, Chair, do you mind if I?
Please respond.
I understand that, and I don't disagree with what Jungle Queen and Cape Ann are saying. You don't want a 100-foot boat there. I don't disagree with that. But we're not here for a variance on how far a boat can go.
I know that.
We're here for the mooring piles. We can dock a 80-foot boat there right now.
I know.
We have no intention to, but we can, and that's not. This is me talking personally. I personally believe that if that stance is punishing homeowners for what should be a change to the city's code, because this board can recommend to not have a 30% rule or to make it dependent on location. But it's tangentially related to what we're here for tonight, but it's not the application that's in front of you. And I don't disagree with it.
I think one of the things that you're saying is that they're penalizing the homeowner. I think the other way around, I think what's happening is the homeowner buys a house over there and then wants the variance to change their way because they bought a home rather than buying a home in another area. In other words, they bought a home and then they want to change the variance to suit the boat that they want to put in rather than the other way around, rather than buying over there in some place where it's very wide and it's also allowed, where nobody's gonna have an objection to the width of the road. That I'm saying is the new river is what I'm saying is where the problem is. And the people that set those standards up, that's what they intended it to be, is keep the boats within there. So, and I'm not penalizing the homeowner, I'm saying the homeowner should have bought a house someplace different, that he could put a 100-foot boat there.
Absolutely, and that's why this owner has absolutely no intention to put a larger boat than the mooring piles. This is not being requested in order to get a larger boat. It is being requested because of the damage that you see and the massive wakes that you see here. It's not a speculative thing. It's actually happening. This homeowner is actually being hurt by just how this river operates. And we would happily accept any condition put on this by the city commission if you guys want to recommend it to them, stating that we can't have a boat over further than the mooring pile.
Andrew, I have a
Yes.
follow-up question. Actually, you brought up an interesting point there. I want to kind of jump on there and then ask. The damage, I think the pictures were telling, so thank you for the pictures. That certainly enlightens things. If the owner is going to keep the boat he has, and I believe the same owner has those two lots plus the vacant lot on the Tarpon River, right? Sort of.
The vacant lot on Tarpon River is the father.
Same
It's
family.
a family. Yeah,
Father,
family.
daughter, and
Yes.
then, okay, I'm just clarifying.
Yes.
And the current piles are out 35 feet, which is actually 10 foot past the current code. Do those pilings have a waiver on file, do you know?
Old. They're very old. We
So
couldn't find it, they're old.
So there's no waiver on record.
And that's part of why we're actually requesting to add more pilings to it, because they're old.
Okay, I appreciate that. So with the, looking at the video where the applicant's boat is facing bow out, you can certainly see where it's getting beat up a lot. Why wouldn't he have it parallel to to his seawall with outboard piles, then breasting it off of the dock and minimizing damage that way.
They have a lot of boats, and they
There we go.
they are a boating family. They have extended family in the Northeast. They
I
come
have-
down as snowbirds, and they all dock their boats at this property.
So I have 9 boats myself, personally.
Lucky.
Yes,
I'm
it's a blessing and a curse, believe me. One of them fits at my property. The other ones are all at marinas and you know, other facilities. So I too have the boat disease of buying multiple boats. I'm all for that. But so again, I think Norbert's point is the homeowner bought a property knowing he could not fit without waiver requests, I guess was your point, correct?
That's
Just to
my
clarify?
point.
Okay. Okay,
Well, we can fit a 55-foot boat there, and they do.
to do.
And they're okay with paying the occasional damage bills on it. But this ultimately is a safety issue, not safety of the boat. It is a safety of the boat issue. But we just want to safely moor what we already have out there.
Sure.
And that affects, we saw in Ned Strobel's application in 2018, he showed Hurricane Irma damage and what that does to these areas. And that's what we don't want. We don't want the boat to become unmoored and drift away and damage the neighboring property or damage the bridge. I really want to reiterate this. We can and are going to continue to dock a 55-foot boat there. The question is, how safe do you guys want us to do it? Do we want to do it with extra mooring piles at the bow so that we can properly moor it, or have it what it is now? And I heard, I hope the minute taker got this, but you said that the pilings are not the problem.
I
But
didn't say that.
you did. But that's all we're here for tonight is the pilings. And if the pilings are not the problem, then I'm confused at what the issue could be.
The issue, let me correct that. The issue is when you put something out there that you're moving it out. It's just like I said, a person has a 25-foot dock and they move it out 30, it allows you to go out further with a larger boat. So if you put these mooring piles out 60 feet and stuff over there, you're saying, oh, we're gonna keep the boat inside of where the 3 plow and stuff are. There is nothing to stop you from putting a 100-footer out there once you have those mooring piles out. I know a little bit about boats and where you can moor one. When you put, especially what you're doing, you're putting a cluster of them across like that. So if the boat goes out over there, you don't really have, at 65 feet, you can go out 100 and some odd feet safely, even further with a boat and stuff. I know you couldn't have any objection because you are, what you just got done saying, you're making it very safe for a 120-foot boat. Even though you're only saying you're only gonna put a 50-footer out there. But if they sell the property or somebody else sells the property, the thing is already out there. And guess what? If somebody puts a 120-foot boat out there or a 150-foot boat out there with the width of that river, they are still within the 30%. Still within the 30%, but they're sticking out like that other boat is way out on the other side. They are so close to encroaching on the 30% rule that it's gonna make a hazard to navigation. Maybe not you, but a 120-foot boat would be a hazard to navigation. You even agreed to that. You say you're not gonna put anything out there more than 55 feet. I do not have any guarantee that that's the furthest boat you're gonna put out there. There is nothing.
I understand, and we can legally put a 100-foot boat there right now.
I know you can.
Legally. But that is not the application in front of you. That is a larger
Okay.
issue that I would support a change to the code that has location-based criteria, something along those lines to differentiate it from just your standard canals. But I don't disagree that that's an issue, and we can do that now. We just can't do it safely. And whether we have 35-foot mooring piles or 60-foot mooring piles, it's probably the same level of security for a 100-foot boat. Maybe a little bit better with 60-foot mooring piles. But we will do anything that we need to restrictive covenants, anything that we can do to assure you guys that we're not trying to put a 100-foot boat there. All we're trying to do is get the boats that are docked there now to stop being damaged because this area creates an incredible amount of wake. I mean, it's incredible constantly during good weather. During storms, forget about it. It's bad.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Steve?
I just, and I know you didn't intend it like this, but when you made a comment about us punishing homeowners, I want to be very clear that our role is just the opposite. And in this instance, as Norbert said, it's this part of the New River. This is not a global approach we have, and our role really with what's happening here and the impact to commercial operators is not to punish a homeowner, but certainly to protect the commercial operator's ability to do business. And that's a real major issue here.
I don't disagree. I do want to add that it's not a zero-sum game here.
No, I understand.
We can favor commercial operators and the homeowners at the same time. Not in every river, but when you have a unique little alcove like this that is frankly not used, we can have both sides be happy here.
Bob?
Yeah, just curious, how wide is the Jungle Queen?
Oh gosh, I don't.
Because you're saying big boats, how wide is it?
Does someone here might have more information on me than that? But if I were to estimate,
I think it's
40 feet.
All right, that's 30 feet.
I think it's about 32 feet and stuff. The barge I used to run is 44 wide.
But I'm saying, but you're saying Jungle Queen is a big boat, right?
It's a
How long is it?
very
Any idea?
large boat.
65 is 70 feet.
70 feet?
It's
and
the
then
width
Say
that-
30 feet?
It's
Okay.
the width that differentiates.
Okay,
the
well,
Jungle.
a number of months back, Bradford Marine, we had a 150-foot long barge going up the river, 50 feet wide.
Yeah.
And it was a beast getting up and down the river. When you look at a place like this and you have to pass the Jungle Queen in a river, you need those kind of spaces. You gotta have it.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is there's going to be boats there anyway. So you can't use that space because there will be boats there. Whether there are mooring piles there or not, there are going to be boats there. That space is going to be unusable.
Bob, to clarify, didn't,
Yeah.
when that barge left Bradford, didn't a boat that was moved into the river after it went up have to get moved to get out of the river?
That, I wasn't part of that maneuver. But I mean, we've got 150-footer yachts coming up and down the river.
212 came up. I mean, we
Okay,
have some
Yeah,
great
I mean,
pictures of
we've
that
got-
coming up.
Yeah, and the thing is, just to point your presentation, and I appreciate the videos and all that, you showed little, what I call 80-footers, on a calm day. That's not what we have coming up. Well, we have much bigger boats coming up the river now, and you mentioned that nothing substantially has changed since 2018.
I
No,
was
we
quoted
have-
aboard.
Okay, well, we've got larger boats coming up the river, and if that's the only place you can really pass, I mean, you go a little slower than the windows and all that. And you got the narrow area there between 7th Avenue, all the way down to where the tunnel is. It's,
Four bridges.
yeah,
You got the bridge just
Yeah.
to the east of this,
Yeah.
then there's a railroad bridge,
Mhm.
then you have Andrews Avenue Bridge, and then you have the other one.
Yeah.
There's two places to lay over, one by the Icon,
Mhm.
and they're already working on that. That's on the south side, on the east side,
right.
all right? Then when I have to get on the radio, so do you, when you come to radio and stuff and say that I'm inbound and stuff over there, anybody that's outbound from Little Florida, they lay right there
Yep. Mhm.
and wait for the bridge because of the angle from that point to the bridge is a straight angle. And I'll tell you what, barges and stuff, they don't even maneuver like a regular boat with a keel. They slide. And that's why when I had them over there in the slide, and that's why I like what he brought up. That's a great area because you don't have a lot of tidal movement and stuff in the area. When the people speed up there, which is you're right, and stuff over there they are, but you were talking about, that's against the law too, the speed in those areas, so.
Yeah.
But it's done.
We've spoken with Sergeant O'Neill about that area specifically for that.
And I understand those points, and again, I don't disagree with that. I just want to put this into perspective that regardless of whether there are mooring piles out there, there will be 50 to 60 foot boats. The question tonight is, do we want them moored safely, or do we want them moored how they're moored right now? Which is
I think
not
what we're
safe.
trying to do, I think we're trying to restrict the size of the boat that you can. You're talking 55 footers. We're trying to tell you, okay, you can put the 55 footer out there. You say it's a little dangerous going this and that. I know you can't put a 100 footer out there and stuff over here because now that's too much movement. So I think what we're trying to say is, and I think what they had when they designed that they want to keep the piling into a certain area to restrict the size of the boat. Because you brought up the point, there is no boat restriction and stuff at that point. And I think the only boat restriction that you have is by keeping the structure's in close, so you realize it's not safe to put a 100-foot boat out there, that you have to maintain a 55-footer. And you have to maintain a shorter boat. So if you allow to go out 65 feet, you can put, and we went over this and over this, there is no restriction, in your own words, that you could basically put a 120-footer out there and still within the 30% rule. And so that's we're not objecting to what the pilings are, but the pilings are basically what is keeping somebody from putting too large of a boat out into the river, any of these structures. That's, I think, why I look at a variance. I look at a variance because if a dock is 20 foot, you know how far out that you can safely put a boat. If you put it out 10 more feet, you can add another 20, 30 feet to that boat, and so on down the line. And I know because the one at the city commission that you brought up is down over there, and that boat, the reason I brought that up at the castle and stuff down there, that boat is within 3 feet of the 30% field, all right? And he hasn't even started putting those docks out there yet. So God knows when he puts the docks out there where we're gonna be. So that's basically all that I would have to say on that. That's the reason that I would say that I would have an objection to the pilings, only because it does not restrict the owner from putting a larger boat out there. With your own words, there is no rule against how far the boat can go out.
But we're also willing to self-restrict in any way that we
You
can.
can't do it. There's no way you can restrict.
No, you can't restrict it right now.
When Mr. Strobels went to the city commission, they did actually put a restriction on it, and they said the only way to do it, to change that is to enforce it is by code enforcement, which that's how things are done.
You can condition the resolution
Yeah,
to include
so I don't see
restriction,
why,
but the question is whether it's
doesn't flow with the
enforced.
property.
That's-
well, that could be said about
The
anything.
average person does not know, and like I said, we have approved those things on the same condition you are, where the person said absolutely, positively, put my hand on the Bible and everything else, I'm not gonna have anything more than a 65-foot boat in there. So they sell the house, there's an 85-footer in there. And the one that I really looked at, the furthest they were gonna put out was an 85-foot boat. I know a little bit about the boats, there's a Westport docked in there. A Westport is 112 feet. So they even have that restriction on when they build it, that they would not have that on there. There's no enforcement for that.
That's up to whoever, I mean, Cape Ann County, if we had a 120-foot boat out there, they'd be calling code enforcement immediately.
You're not breaking the code.
If we have 120, we'd be breaking.
No, you wouldn't be breaking the
But
code.
It's like
You'd
250.
be right on the borderline of the
250 to
30% rule.
300.
It's 289, so a 30% rule is 86.7
Yeah.
feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you could go to the maximum.
But again, we'd be willing to restrict it. My concern here is that I hear all of these real, actual issues, but they're kind of different than the application that's in front of you. If we get a recommendation of denial, I'm at least hoping that it's based on the merits of our application and what we're requesting, not speculation of what could possibly happen. Because we can do that all day. And I'm willing to restrict on the speculation that you're concerned about. We're willing to alleviate that concern as best as possible. So it doesn't sound like we're having problems with what we're actually requesting, just possible
If you're willing
speculation.
to restrict, but we can't enforce, why don't we just bring back the request to plus, 15 feet? If you're not gonna go any further anyway, let's just do plus 15 feet rather than 35 feet. If you're not gonna have that big of a boat anyway.
We have about a 60-footer there now, we're asking for 60-foot mooring pot.
Has the owner ever considered a different configuration with that much seawall? Rather than just all those pilings at the end?
Well,
Different
it's
configuration?
they're really three separate properties. They're
Right,
not
but they're
combined.
family.
They're a family,
Right.
but they're not combined properties. So you start getting into permitting issues when you're permitting something for one person on another person's property. I don't know what other type of configuration there possibly could be. You're thinking like diagonal?
Well, We talked about parallel, maybe one or two pilings versus 6. I mean, I just don't see that. I'm just trying to work on some kind of a compromise with, where this could go next. That's all I'm thinking of for the family.
Understood. We did bring it down from last request as well. We heard a couple of board members say, suggested bringing it back a few feet, so.
Yeah, I think the suggestion was 50, if I'm not mistaken, I think, it was in that near 45 or 50, but anyway, regardless, okay. Thank you. Ms. George?
I just have a question for clarification for my own sake. What was said is they're offering to put a restriction on the boat in the documents so that it would restrict the 55-foot max. But even with that in there, code enforcement wouldn't have anything to enforce against, right?
The code for that area provides a 30% of the waterway is the actual.
So even if they put it in the documents, there's nothing for them to enforce against.
Unless they break the 86.7 foot,
Right.
I believe.
Well,
That would be a.
Okay, that's what I thought I heard.
yeah, you
I'm
could
just a boat
also,
driver.
it could also be a violation for illegal land use, or we can enter into a separate instrument with the city that does give enforcement mechanisms to the city. And that's completely up to the power of the city commission, they can do that, so. It doesn't necessarily have to just be in a resolution, though that would be enforceable, but we could do a separate instrument with the city and they can create their own punishment, provisions. Again, we're here tonight not to pull a fast one on the board, we're here because the boat's getting damaged and there's a lot of wake in this area. And it's a really unique area of the river for wake and speed. We're not here to pull a fast one.
Understood.
Here because there are actual issues.
Anything else from the board? Any other questions? Any public questions, comments, concerns? No? Okay, pulling it back to the board. So both properties have been presented under one presentation with the request to have separate votes for 801 Southwest 6th and then a vote for 777 Southwest 6th. Barring any further discussion, any further questions, I would like to call for a motion.
You're dealing with each property.
Each property independently. So the first one will be a motion for 801 Southwest 6th Street.
I'll be happy to make a motion.
Motion.
A second?
Hang on. That's motion to.
Approve or put up for vote.
Okay, so
Sorry.
we have a
I was
motion.
gonna go to the bathroom. This would be a bad time.
Is your motion to call the question or is your motion to vote on approval?
To vote for, my motion is to vote for question. To vote. How would I phrase this? I'm sorry. My motion is to vote for 801. I'm not sure how you want me to phrase this because it's two properties.
We'll do each one separately. So we either need a motion to approve or a motion to reject for 801.
I personally will make a motion to reject 801.
Okay? We have a motion to reject. Do we have a second for that motion? Okay, Bob Franks, we have a motion first and seconded. So a motion to reject the applicant's request.
Roll call.
Roll call vote for that one.
Mr. Whitten,
I agree with the rejection or I'm opposed to it, yes.
Ms. George.
Agree. To reject.
Ms. Norvell. Opposed. To reject, correct. We agree to reject.
Sorry.
Mr. Knott.
Agree to reject.
Thank you. Mr. Franks,
Reject?
Mr. McLaughlin,
Reject.
Chair Morley.
Yes.
Did I miss anybody? It's unanimous tonight.
So 801 Southwest 6th Street has not been successful. Okay. Moving on to 777 Southwest 6th Street. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns for the applicant on that application from the board? Any comments or concerns from the members of the public? Okay. Any comments or concerns to be expressed by the applicant's representative? On
You guys can
777.
do this one by a voice vote.
I'd like to go ahead and get a motion on the table for item number 7, which is 777 Southwest 6th Street. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to reject.
Okay, Mr. Whitten again, motion to reject. Do we have a second for that? Mr. Knott, I think we have a second. We have a motion and seconded to reject the application for 777 Southwest 6th Street and a voice vote. All in favor of that motion, signify with a aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to that motion? Okay, that motion also carries unanimously then for a rejection on both 801 and 777.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ranger. Okay, moving on to agenda number 8, old and new business. Do we have any old or
What about
new?
the Seminole Drive?
That was already done. That was item 5.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good.
That was approved
Okay, right.
unanimously.
Got a lot of.
That one was approved unanimously.
So we have what, old business?
So we have old business and new business to discuss.
Okay,
So
one
Norbert,
of, one of the things which the gentleman brought up and everything else, which probably needs to be addressed, and probably with a new commission and stuff coming in, maybe it's something that we ought to put on there. When we get these variants and stuff over there, and he brought an interesting point and stuff over there. The structure is what gets the variance changed. And I really think that it should be the boat. In other words, the furthest out on the boat. And the reason I was saying that is I'm looking at when they get a variance that I've said once before, the boat lifts are getting larger and larger to the point where we're starting to get 30, 35 footers that are on boat lifts. They get a variance for the boat lift, and the boat lift has a variance of 5 feet or something with a boat lift. If everybody knows about a boat lift, if you put the boat on a boat lift, the stern is almost at the back end of the lift. That's where the motors are, it's where all the weight is, the fuel and everything else. The bow can stick over 8 to 10 to 12 feet. However, the variance is given on the structure, not how far the furthest part of that out and protrudes into the water. The gentleman here brought up that initially, that's the thing that I've been saying all the time. When we give a variance to the structure, that automatically adds length onto the boat. So what I'm thinking is the city commission maybe wants to realistically start to look at when somebody gets a variance, that they make a variance on the boat. So if a person has a 60-foot boat, you look at the distance that it's, let's say there's a 300-foot wide river. So you're gonna tell them, not the structure, but the boat that you could have out of there has restrictions. Right now, it's 25 feet is, I think it is on the structure of the mooring piles, right? But they've already said that. They've already have 55, 65 footers out on docks that are unsafe, and they all agree they're unsafe. Over on the castle, there's 2 70-foot boats out over there where a dock, if you put a 50-footer, I would be scared. So what they do, the new way they do it is put the boat out, drop 2 anchors off of both sides and pull the anchors in, and they have like spring lines on it, which he doesn't have. That holds the boat. So the only thing they need a dock for is to get on and off the boat. They care less how long the boat is. The boat can be out no matter how far it is. So maybe what we are trying to do is get the commission to have the variance changes to the furthest out, whether it be the dock, the vessel, the mooring piles, or whatever it is. That's the variance that you want to get. So if you have a 65-foot boat and you want to get a variance, and the variance right now is 25 feet, so you're going to get a variance to the boat size, not to the structure.
If you wanna buy a new boat, you have to come in front of the board.
Exactly. See, you would have to because, like I said, I don't know if any guy's been on the New River and stuff recently. The guy that's over there with the castle, this board actually did not approve that structure at the castle. In other words, it was rejected on the board, yet the commission overrode the board and passed that with it. And the objection was that, oh, they already had some restrictions on land, whatever it was doing. So they decided to give the guy a bonus, so they gave him that and everything else. Now I think there's an 80-footer out there, and they're within a foot or so like that of the encroaching on the 30% line. And like I said, I talked to Jimmy Steele today with Steel Towing and stuff over there. He called me personally, and I can say that now, he called me personally and said that a guy approached him or told him, and they wanted to get him to put a variance in, or get a permit, that they thought it was all right, that he did that. I said, well, what is your opinion? He said, absolutely not. So when it come over here, the guy said, well, he talked to him, and the guy didn't put a protest on the email. And Jim said to me, hey, I'm out on the water, I'm towing boats from the boat line and everything else. I don't have access to write any emails or whatever happened to be at the time. But, and that was another thing, I guess, they wanted to know how that they could get on the list on things that pertain to them. And I said, I have no idea, because I know what he has is the 300 feet around.
Well, and we noticed the MISF, correct?
Correct.
So MISF has noticed of all of these waiver requests also.
Well, for some reason or other, he said he didn't get any kind of request on it, so I guess he's not on.
Well, especially with this one, because I caught some heat on this one. I absolutely told Marine Industries Association that this one was coming up.
Yeah, not everybody's a member of the Marine Association either. I don't think he is.
So anybody who wants me to add them to my list.
That's what I was gonna ask.
I'm happy to add them to
Okay.
it, because I have an HOA list which has like 90 names on it.
Yeah.
And 15 of those people are no longer alive.
Okay, I said
They don't
I'll rely
correspond
on
much back.
or his staff, but I'm saying it's, I don't know what the kind of verbiage that you would put on something like that, but, as soon as you get a variance and stuff over there, was no restriction on that boat. And I wasn't kidding,
Well-
I went around.
There isn't a restriction right now on boats, other than the 30%,
Exactly.
according to Uniform Code, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
So what we'd be talking about would actually be a modification recommendation for the code itself, which is,
I mean, the question is, does the 30% rule work?
Right.
Yeah.
And it typically does,
typically.
but on the New River, there's obviously some concerns.
So
Yeah,
there's
Specific
a,
on New River.
in the past, I know Jimmy's talked about, other members of the board have brought it up, discussing a recommendation to the city commission on a moratorium of waivers for the New River, since it is designated a commercial waterway first. And the New River is sort of unique in that also that there is no buoyed channel on the New River. The Coast Guard actually has it from bank to bank as the navigable waterway. So we already have an encroachment technically within to that navigational zone. So it's a unique area. If there were buoys, it'd be really easy. Then you just measure out to the buoy and say, okay, boom, that's your channel. You gotta keep clear. But we don't have that. So, what are our thoughts on a communication to the commission on recommending a moratorium on waivers being granted for the New River, specifically because of the concerns of safety of navigation, freedom of navigation for the commercial operators? Is that something that this board thinks is time to discuss that and move that forward?
I put a hold on that until the new commission is seated, because right now, I said, at this commission, I don't know when they take office.
The 15th is their planning.
They take the 15th of what?
They're planning, the 15th of November, they're planning on, assuming they, each of the three people win. If there's any kind of tie-up, then they won't, but on the 15th is the date that they're, right before the meeting, they're gonna swear them in.
Should we then think about doing something in our December meeting, you think?
Why don't I
or-
agenda a discussion
That'd be great.
about, we'll call it 30% concerns associated, I'll talk to you.
Yeah, we'll talk.
I like the idea what they were saying too about the New River being the exception, because I agree with you, even this, this guy that came in there on the first one, he made the changes. When people make the changes and they do that, I mean, a drastic change and stuff over there to comply and make everything fit, you can see that where the guy made an effort, did that. Idlewild, we haven't gotten any of them for a while. Any of you new people on Idlewild, where do you see that? I mean, that's a real can of worms over there. And
It's important that we look at both sides and we address the needs of the homeowners, the desires of the homeowners, and balance it against the needs of safety and the needs of the commercial waterways and all that. And I think we collectively do a good job of that. I think the New River is a unique area. It certainly is unique to us for City of Fort Lauderdale for this. So I do think more discussion is warranted on that. So if we can December, we'll make an agenda item. You and I will discuss the wording, how we wanna word that. But, let's all put our thinking caps on. And, you know,
Great
Bob,
idea.
you know, your thoughts are incredibly important to us. You know, as an operator up that river, you know it. Norbert, you know it really well. The rest of us, you know, we live and work on it. I've taken boats up the river. I've been towed up the river myself on large things, so I can have a good, you know, good view of it as well. But I want to really hear everyone's viewpoint on what their thoughts are on creating either a moratorium or a zone that's specifically addressing the new river with waiver requests and size of boats and all that. So if we can think about some topics to discuss for December on that issue, it'd be great. And anything else you guys want to bring up, you know, just let me know or let Andrew know, and we'll get it on the agenda as well and try to get some information going on those things.
You know,
Steve?
it's interesting that Andrew made the comment that, well, this was approved in 2018, so, you know.
It hasn't been.
But-
You know, I'm gonna look at my
whole
notes.
point, my whole point though is that, you know, what was okay yesterday is not okay today.
Right.
That's the
We
whole
can't stand
point
that
here.
comment.
And I think what needs to be stressed, I don't even know if we have a mission statement as an example, because the focus on residential is obviously first and foremost. But to neglect the commercial operators, really what we're trying to do is make up for some of the waivers that were granted over the past few years that probably should not have been. So is the board taking a more aggressive stand? Damn right, because you have to preserve the opportunity for these operators. So that's a good point.
It creates a larger environmental safety and pollution concern.
Sure
with
does.
These larger vessels going up and down the river, for impacts to mooring and moored vessels. So it's, you know, and the whole thing for me, you're looking at it, well, you can have an 80-foot boat, so I can have 80-foot pilings out there. The boat can be moved. You know, during an extreme circumstance, you can say, hey, sorry, you know, homeowner, can you move your boat for 3 hours while we get by there with this big boat? And it's been done before, whereas pulling pilings is a whole different ballgame.
And aren't there many more boats up New River now because of, there were a lot of the small boat things that were there. There was that, used boat guy that was up there that had predominantly small boats, and now that's all,
The river,
docks
there's
and-
no doubt the tone of the river is changing. I mean, the tone of yachting is changing. You know, yachts are getting bigger and bigger. What was an entry-level yacht 10 years ago is, you know, no longer an entry-level yacht. Now it's, you know,
And we all
100
know
plus.
that most boat owners don't downsize.
No,
They would look for the next bigger boat.
I'm actually downsizing, by
We
the way,
did.
just so you know.
we did when we came to
Come
Florida.
on, you said you have 9?
Until they get
I got
old.
3 for sale.
They downsize when they get old, that's
Right.
what happens.
I said, I can look at Andrew and stuff over there when you have the, what's up on the New River, all the way down where the icon of where all those big places are. We used to have 1 or 2 large boats for the weddings, and all those things that they had in there. But the average, he will tell you, what I was saying is, when I said the river has shrunk by at least 6 feet width. And everybody says, well, what, did they build something in there? No. I
Great
said,
comment.
because a 50-foot Hatteras had a 12-foot beam on it.
Right.
On both sides. So now you got a 65-footer with a 15-foot beam, so you're adding 3 feet on each side, you're actually shrinking the river. And I don't know if you've ever been on the river when them towboat guys come in here, I tell you what, they do a hell of a job,
Amazing
great job. And when you go over there and I watch some of the people that shouldn't have a boat, and they're in there maneuvering around these people and stuff over there, and I'm saying is, don't they realize that this is not under control, really, that
A lot of people don't
No,
understand that.
and a lot of the weight that you see from it is actually, you know, I even had somebody complain about the towboat. The towboat was making too much weight because it was trying to jerk the back end of the large boat around and stuff over there, was wiggling his boat and stuff on the
It was
side.
thrust.
And you know what? The
Prop
boat
wash
was
and thrust.
oversized for the size of the dock that the guy had on there. It was on the river, and when he had to put the holes to it to pull that large boat and stuff around, obviously he was making a weight on the other side. And so what you were saying and stuff over there to protect those people by allowing these people and stuff to get out further and further is atrocious and stuff over there.
For change.
And I'd like to see him, look at Lauderdale Marine Center. Lauderdale Marine Center is jammed right now. And you go in there, I remember going in there where you could fit them inside of those big huts. Now they're sticking out on both sides. I went up there in their tent, I said, what are they doing? They had a boat apart. They're taking a 120 or 130 foot boat and they're adding like 20 feet to the center of the boat. And I thought, man, I wanted to do that one time. I wanted to take the city commission on a tour on, and us also, on a tour of the river and go up there and see it. If you ever go to get into Lauderdale, you look and taking those boats and stuff apart. It's, that marine industry is actually terrific. Millions and millions of dollars in there. I don't have to tell you guys that, you know that, so.
Yeah,
Bob?
just two quick things. I spoke to Jimmy Steele today as well, and he was not for more development on the river, and just, you know, that. Just a second thing, or the thing, if you're maneuvering a boat up the river, you're towing a boat, it can be kind of interesting. You have a lead tow boat, you got the big yacht, you got the boat in the stern. The boat in the front is the lead boat. All right, the boat on the stern is the one that wiggles the stern around. The guy in the back of the boat can't see the front of the boat or what's up there. The guy in the front of the boat can't see what's in the back of the boat. So they have to have really good communication. Now, the video we saw up here was beautiful weather, small, what I call small 80 footers. All right, if you got a 120, Westport, that's a big boat, a lot of momentum. If you have any kind of a wind situation or current situation, that makes it that much more difficult. You got the momentum, you got the jet skis and everything else. It's, give these guys a lot of credit to go up and down the river as you're towing those boats. But if you're a captain, what you're looking at is, what is my safety margin? How much room do I have on this side and how much do I have on this side? If I'm squeezed, man, I'm tight. And if you're going up the river near Andrews Avenue and you get that water coming out of the side, now you have to account for that. And then Andrews Bridge at some angle, and of course the railroad bridge. You got all these little things you got to deal with, but you want your safety margin. And so if you are west of 7th Avenue and you have that open pocket, okay, now you got a little bit of breathing room because now Jungle Queen's coming up the river or down the river. You need that space. You got to have it, and it's just really important. Sometimes if you like to get on a towboat for a cruise up the river, you'll get your eyes open. But it's you got to anticipate how the boat's going to move. What's this guy doing on this boat over here? It's can get a little interesting.
Well, he said that the Jungle Queen, he said they more or less didn't have any objection to what he was doing. They talked to the owners. That's like when I was running the barge, if they talked to my owner, he couldn't see any problem with this going on there.
Right.
They need to talk to the people that are operating the boat to
Yeah.
find out what the problem is.
Oh, yeah.
And the woman, the girl that operates the Jungle Queen and stuff over there,
Heather Mitten.
and she, that's who they need to interview,
Oh,
say,
absolutely.
how do you feel about running that stuff? They could talk to the owners. I know I work for a marine construction company. And believe me, I don't see any problem with that. Our guys do that all the time. They don't do it, we don't do it all the time. They had steel towing, tow us barges up at the end. We couldn't even run them up. That's how it was starting, how they had to do it.
Keep these thoughts for our next meeting when we have an agenda item to discuss possible solutions there. Is there any other old or new business topics to bring up for tonight? George? No? Okay.
Can I just say one thing?
Please, Andrew.
This topic of river navigational concerns, whatever we call it, after we talk about it, after the board talks about it, why don't we invite the industry people in thereafter?
That's a great idea.
That's a
Maybe
great
at maybe
idea.
a
Great
meeting in
idea.
January
Yeah.
to talk
That's a great
about, to
idea.
discuss
Great
your
idea.
recommendations to get their feedback
No, I think it'd be important to have
afterwards.
MISF here, towboat operators here, some of the tourboat
That'd be
operators
wonderful.
here, and just get their perspective on things would be very, very invaluable to us.
And Jimmy, I think he's president or something of the marine industry.
Yes.
So he could probably get a lot of interested
Sure.
people and stuff that are in there,
We
and
need to
those
do
that
it.
aren't, I said we can go in there.
All right, there's nothing else, motion to adjourn?
Ready.
Second,
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you all.
Thank you all, appreciate your evening.
glad that Jimmy called you too.
Well,
I said he had a lot of concerns, he was saying,
Oh my
what are
God,
they,
this
what are
meeting
they
be
doing
going
to
on
us?
for another hour.
And I said, if you people don't